Hello and welcome to the show. Today's going to be a noisy episode because I'm just leaving the studio at Radio Maria 91.3 FM in Abuja, where we just finalized the details for my radio show, which is now going to be airing on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. We also had an in-house training, not just for me, but for other presenters as well. A couple of things that we needed to know, about being on radio, handling callers, ethics, etiquette, presentation, all kinds of stuff. And it turned out to be a really good session. So I guess today, the reason why I'm on the podcast is just to let you guys know, especially those of you who are in Abuja, parts of Nasarawa, parts of Niger, parts of Kaduna, that your boy is finally going to be on the air. So if you'd like to call and talk to me live, then the time of the show is 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single Tuesday. Again, it's Radio Maria and the, the signal. I'm not even sure what that thing is called. Anyway, the dial on radio is 91.3 FM, so that's where to catch me. And the show is going to be called the Business Booster Show. And that's it. We are going to be live and on the air. The training session that they had for us, well, of course, really, really insightful. But I must admit that showing up there, for me, turned out to be a lesson in humility, because initially, when we started wrapping up the conversations of December last year, I was really, really glad that everything was good to go. Then early January, we recorded the jingle to promote the show. Then the producer of the show now told me that they would need me to come in for training. And initially, I told my wife, I was like, training care. Like, what do they want to teach me again now? Because as far as I'm concerned, and that's that whole pride thing coming in. How I keep attacking Nigerian guys, telling people that you guys need to be cool, you guys need to calm down, you need to be humble. And the reason why I can speak to that confidently is because, I'm a young Nigerian man myself, so it's an ailment that I suffer. Because as far as I was concerned, you guys are a new radio station. I've been podcasting for, close to 5 years now, done over 1,000 episodes. And I was thinking, like, what do you guys have to teach me? So, but I'm glad I came anyway, and I've learned how to eat humble pie, because the people that handled the training were veteran producers. We had Peter Igo, who was a producer with NTA. The only show that I know of his that I've seen was Cockroach at Dawn. I don't expect half of you listening to this to know about that show, because even when Cockroach at Dawn aired, I was already a kid. I was still a kid, so, it's just something you see on TV, like, okay, the teenagers are watching it, the adults are watching it, like, okay, that's adult stuff. So it was Cockroach at Dawn, and then I think also the AM show on NTA. So Peter Ego is a legendary producer. He's been doing his thing since, I'm not sure when he started, but as far as I know, he's been producing, from the 70s into the 2000s. So he's had a very long spanning career. And it also turns out that he's the father of Tosin Igbo. And of course, if you like watching Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those stuff, then Tosin Igbo as one of those faces of the new Niger, how will I put it, like the new Nollywood, because he has stuff on Netflix and things like that, really fancy, high production value and all that sort of jazz. So yeah, it's the same family. So Peter Igbo, old school producer, and then Tosin Igbo, the son. So maybe if you're interested to see what Tosin Igbo's stuff is like, just go on Google and Google the guy, and you get to see the list of movies that he has out on Netflix and on Amazon Prime, and you'll get to see the face of the new Nigerian Nollywood that is on the come up, with high production value and stuff like that. So, so like I said, lesson in humility, because I figured, look, you guys can't teach me anything, so I don't want to go for this thing. But I say, let me find something, so let me show up, let me be humble, let them not cancel my show before I start, that kind of thing. So I showed up anyway, and it turned out to be a very good session. Lot to learn from Peter Igo, also a freestyler, just like me. So it's nice to know that I am not a what's the word? I'm not a freak. That there are other people who also take the same bent. He had lots of things to say about planning, about scripting, about fact checking your shows, about continuity, all those sorts of things. But I like his approach when it came to planning and scripting. And, he told people pretty much, what I say, which is, you should always have a script. It doesn't have to be detailed, it can be an outline. But the thing is, you always have to predetermine what it is that you are going to say. Because some people would see folks like Peter Ego, freestyle on stage, or maybe see me freestyling and just think that, freestyling is the way to go. But truth of matter is, it's like freestyling in rap or hip hop. A hip hop artist who freestyles never really freestyles per se. You have some key themes that you throw around and you have a general thrust of what it is that you want to say beforehand. And so it's the same thing. So, so good stuff from Peter Ego. And then plus, it was nice to meet the man was nice to meet the man in person. And then since I also come from a media family, well, former media family anyway, because my parents both started off with NTA. My father in, I think, NTA, was it Kaduna first, then later on Abuja, and then my mom see NTA, NTA Makudi, and then later on Abuja. So it was nice to finally meet one of those legends that back in the day, watching TV, everything is scrolling. You just see the names, the credits scrolling, and then you say, "Oh, Peter Ego, producer." So it's nice to see one of those guys in the flesh. Then the second person who handled the handled the training was Dr. Inya J. Ode. She used to be a host of the midday show on Radio Info. She's currently in the development space. She runs the Lux Terra Foundation. And she also had some interesting things to say as well. And I guess the most important thing I took out of her session was she mentioned the NBC code. That's Nigerian Broadcasting. What's NBC again? NBC is Nigerian Broadcasting something. AKTS. If you happen to be listening to the show, since you're my fact checker, why don't you check me? Let me know what the NBC is. So, so she spoke about the code and how I ought to be familiar with the code. And actually, at that point, I was, like smacking my head, like obviously, if you call yourself a professional salesperson and you're putting a show on the air, at the very least, you're supposed to have researched a couple of things, known what the guidelines are, and what the legal and ethical considerations are. And so it was also nice, also to swallow some humble pie there, to learn that, I guess I don't always live out my creed because, salespeople, we should always be prepared. So, assuming that this was something else, like a business transaction, purely a business transaction, actually, I would have come into this meeting, knowing one or two things before heading in. So, just a reminder that I also need to, practice what I preach and do all the research and be prepared. Then, let's see. Then I also found one really interesting bit of advice. Something that I can relate to because she mentioned that for your radio show, when you're a radio presenter, that usually there's always one person in the audience who needs to hear what it is that you are saying, and that's something I could connect with because in doing over 1,000 episodes of the podcast right now, it really touches me when people reach out because I've said something that they find insightful or that is applicable in their particular context. Because, for us, we sit behind the microphone and we're saying stuff and, truly we're speaking out into the void. But then there are people on the other end who are receiving what it is that we have to say, and it can be uplifting and sometimes it can be enlightening just to show people the next step, the next thing to do. And with that, she said that we should approach our jobs with that as a presenter. And I guess, for those of us who have a podcast, that, that a word of prayer might be in order before you get on the air. And I thought that was a very interesting, a very interesting recommendation. For those of you who are in the West, in the UK and in America, you might think, why would she recommend that? But, in this part of the world, we are still, what's the word? We are still... Conservative is not the right word, but I'm just saying that in this part of the world, it's not out of place, to hear those sorts of recommendations, and it makes sense that we ought to be mindful of the of the power that we have, because there are people listening on the other end, and there are people who things are going to resonate with one particular person. So it was really, 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 really interesting. I'm happy that I came for it. And I just came to make this podcast episode basically just to say that, look, young guys, Nigerian boys, when I say stuff and I pick on you guys because I'm one of you. And, just like I know my flaws, I know some of your flaws as well. So initially, I was going to come to this thing because as far as I was thinking, like, what the F? Like, and me, I've got this thing locked down, so they can't train me nothing because I grew up in a media household and I've been doing this for a while. And I've because I started off as a wedding photographer, I actually have been doing media production for a while. Like the documentaries that we still make, the documentaries. What else? The live streaming. All these sorts of things. So I figured there's nothing that I could learn, but actually there was stuff that I could learn, and I'm really, really glad to have finally been able to see the great Peter Ego himself. I know that half of you don't know who the hell he is, but just take it that he's legendary as far as Nigerian broadcasting is concerned. But definitely check out the work of his son, Tosin Ego, because I've seen one or two of his movies on Amazon Prime. My wife was like, look, let's watch this thing, it's cool. And I'm like, I beg, not another one. Not another copycat movie, because that's the problem I have with the new Nollywood, the face of the new Nollywood. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's too, what's the word? It's too derivative. It's too copycat of Hollywood, and so I didn't want to see not another one. I beg. But I like his stuff. He's real good. So definitely go on Google, type in Tosin Ego. He's a producer. You see all his stuff on Netflix, on Amazon Prime. Watch a couple of stuff and then see what good stuff is out there. So that's it. Again, the show is going to be on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single week. The radio station is Radio Maria, and the dial is 91.3 FM. So for those of you in Abuja, those of you in some parts of Nasarawa, some parts of Niger, some parts of Kaduna, you guys are going to be able to hear me. You're going to be able to call in, and let's see how we can solve your business problems on the air. If you'd love to connect with me personally, you don't want to wait until we chat on the radio. The phone number to hit me up on is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian, and that is my WhatsApp number as well. Then you can find me on socials. The name to look for is Tavishima Ayede. You can find me on socials. I'm on LinkedIn. I've shut down all the other handles. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on anything else. And also Tavishima Ayede on YouTube. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you very much for the support of you guys that have been following along on the podcast. And for those of you who want to catch me offline in the real world, my phone number is there. And there's also another avenue. You can also catch me on the radio. So if nothing else, listen to the show and call in. See if you can stump me. See if you can ask me a question that I can't answer. Yeah, let me make that the challenge for you guys. So you Abuja people listening to the show, you Kaduna people listening to the podcast right now, you Nasarawa people listening to the podcast right now, you people listening to the podcast in, maybe like in Mina, if the signal is strong enough to reach Mina in Niger State, hit me up. Call on the show. See if you can ask me a question that I can't answer. I dare you. All right. So I'll catch you guys at the next episode. And then also, because of this, I'm not going to be making podcast episodes on Tuesdays, because my guess is I probably don't want to overload my voice by doing too much, by podcasting in the morning and then going on the air in the evening. But we'll see how it goes. So next Tuesday, I won't make a podcast recording. The Tuesday after that, I won't make a podcast recording. But then if I think I can handle it, then I'll just go ahead and keep on making the podcast episodes every single day of the week or whenever I can. So that's it. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.